Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking about you and your business. Going to talk a little bit about the book. I like this title. I tell you, I haven't had a chance to read all of it, but I have had a chance to read some of it, and I like it. I am going to read all of it. Be Unique or Be Ignored, Marc Rudov's book. And we have Marc here on the program today. Marc, welcome to the program.
Great to be here, Kevin.
Love the idea of the CEO branding himself, you know, the idea of the stifle, stodgy guy behind the desk and hiding behind a door, coming out and really making his mark. We're seeing more and more of that in recent years, aren't we?
Well, actually, I'm glad you raised that point because that's not what the book is about. It's
good.
Not about the book. It's not about the CEO branding himself. It's about the CEO making sure that he's responsible for branding. The reason I wrote the book for CEOs is because they tend not to get involved in it or to get involved in it in a tangential or even amateurish way. And they leave it up to the PR firm. They leave it up to the ad agency. They leave it up to the marketing department. And that is one of the major reasons that if you look at all the websites in a given industry, they all look and sound the same. They all copy each other. They all use the same industry jargon. So essentially, they're meaningless. And I've dealt with enough companies, and I know that the CEOs just don't really understand what branding is. And unless I put the CEO's name in the subtitle of this book, then the CEO would never read it and would just assume it's another book for the VP of marketing. So I'm glad you raised that issue. That's really what the book is about.
Yeah. All right. Well, really good. So tell me about where people should begin. Where should they begin to challenge their way of being branded?
Well, of course, the first thing you do is you get my book. And you go to beuniqueorbeignored.com. And what the book will teach the CEO is what branding is and what it isn't. For example, branding is not a logo. You'll hear a lot of people say, we rebranded our company. We hired this firm and we have a new logo. So what? Mm-hmm. A logo represents a brand. It never constitutes a brand. And you can have a logo stuck on a product for many years, and the product can become terrible. The company's reputation can become terrible, but the logo doesn't change. Mm-hmm. So the logo is not a brand, and a lot of people just really don't understand that what a brand is a value proposition. It's not a technology. It's not a product, and it's a value proposition. And you especially see this, Kevin, up near where I live in Silicon Valley, California, the center of high tech for the universe. And most of the companies here believe that their products and their technologies are their brands and are their companies, when in fact, if you look closely, those technologies change every 6 to 9 months. So that can't be it. So what does your product do for the customer? Not what is your product, but what does it do for the customer? And is it sustainable? But when you are focused on your product and not on your customer, then you will be doing producting, not marketing. Mm-hmm. So there are I cover a lot of this in the book, and I explain why companies keep making branding blunders.
Mm-hmm. So what inspired you to write this? Was it just because of the huge dearth in terms of information that seemed available to CEOs, or their lack of ownership of their brand? What motivated you?
That's it in a nutshell. That's it. And what happens is the people who work for the CEO naturally, to keep their paychecks coming, want to please the CEO. And that's hard to do when the CEO doesn't really understand what branding is or thinks it's keeping up with the Joneses, copying the competitors. And I'll give you a good example. These days, you hear all these tech companies talking about cloud computing. Cloud this, cloud that. So what happens? Every single company uses the word cloud now. Well, it turns out that nobody knows what that is. And one of the objectives of a brand is to be crystal clear in communicating a value proposition to customers. Well, what is the opposite of crystal clear? Cloud. You couldn't pick a worse name. So
I'm
not
sorry.
only is it
That's funny, but it's true.
Not only is it nebulous, but it's common. And what is the title of my book, Kevin? Be unique or be ignored. How can you be unique if you're doing the same thing your competitors are doing?
Right.
So let's take something that Apple did. It has something called iCloud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, does Apple own the lowercase I? No, it doesn't. In my book, I have a table of companies using lowercase I. For example, iComfort, which sells mattresses. So it does not own the lowercase I, and it does not own the word cloud. So it takes two entities it does not own, puts them together as a product name. Couldn't be a stupider idea under the sun than iCloud, and no pun intended. But that's the kind of thing that companies do because, they're using cloud, so we should use cloud. In fact, what are you doing for me? When I go to the store to buy a widescreen TV right before the Super Bowl, the salesman doesn't start talking about the PG&E grid. That's our electric company out here. Mm-hmm. He doesn't talk about infrastructure, does he? No, he talks about, if you put this in your living room, all your friends and your family are going to just love the sound and the picture. He talks about the value I'm going to get from it. But no, that's not what the high-tech companies do. They keep talking about their technologies. And, isn't it cool? Who cares?
Yeah.
What are you doing for me?
Yeah, that's all about. What's the old cliche is that features tell and benefits sell, right?
Yes, features. That's right. When I went to sales training many years ago, every time you mention a product feature, imagine the customer saying, "Why should I care?"
Absolutely.
Okay, and we have this feature. Why should I care? If you say that to yourself every time you think of a product feature, then you're going to start to learn, I shouldn't be talking about features. I should be talking about benefits, solutions, and value.
Mark, I got to wrap it up. I apologize. We're running out of time. Great topic, though. Marc Rudov, and that's MarcRudov, marcrudov.com. Also, is the site be unique or be ignored.com for your book?
Yes, that takes you right to the page in my website for the book, beuniqueorbeignored.com. And that's what happens. If you're not unique, you get ignored. And your cost of sales, your cost of media, your cost of capital rise unnecessarily.
Great stuff. Thanks so much for being with us.
Great being with you, Kevin.
You bet. All right, when we come back, much, much more for you. I do want to remind you, of course, best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. Do want to remind you again, I'm going to be at this big event this weekend, and I want you to join me here at Reliance Center. I'm going to be covering it. It's the Franchise Expo South. Get your free tickets. Learn how over at usdailyreview.com. Stay tuned for more after this.